Thrifty, and scouting is affordable. So to get started, first I want to introduce myself. I am James Heileman. I'm the district executive for the Tow River and Nantahala district. With me tonight, we have Jonathan Hutto. I'll give him a second to speak. He's going to be monitoring the chat and questions. If anybody has questions or anything, feel free to comment them below on our Facebook Live page, or throw them in the chat on the Zoom if you're in the Zoom meeting with us, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. So, Jonathan?
Hey, everybody. I do apologize. My camera is not working right now, so I can't share my beautiful beard. But my name is Jonathan. I'm one of the newer DEs here. I'm over the Aurora district. So I want to thank everybody for joining us, whether you're joining us on Zoom or on Facebook Live. I do want to go through and let all of our Facebook Livers know that there is about a 2-minute delay on that. So when you go through and post any questions, comments, or concerns on Facebook Live, it may take us a couple minutes in order to go through, see those, and react to those, but we're not going to forget about you. I've got you pulled up on a separate screen here. Zoom is going to be in real time, so if you do have any questions there, feel free to post your questions, raise your hands, anything like that, and we can go through and we can call on you if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns.
All right, and also with us are also some of the other DEs we have. We have Connor Steele with the Catalucci DE. I believe he's on the Facebook Live side watching us tonight, as well as Brian Sullivan, the Soquoia DE here in Buncombe County. Other staff that we have that are able to help any of you guys with any of the questions from tonight's meeting or in the future. We also have Melinda Kewen. She's our program executive, so she helps run our summer camps and different program activities. And we also have Paul Hollier, our Senior Development Director, and he is the one that you guys will be contacting for any popcorn questions or camp card questions, any of that, those items, you'll be reaching out to Paul Hollier. All right, so what units can earn with doing just a little bit of fundraiser? I want to start tonight with doing a brief thing on that with the membership fees that have gone up and how units can fundraise to offset those costs, sometimes entirely if you can. So first, our average unit is about 25 scouts, so that's what I'm basing this slide off of here. If every person in the unit can sell 100 camp cards and sell popcorn to just 10 customers, which is a very doable goal for your scouts, the unit would be able to pay for a lot of items. They would get over $8,000 in surplus from those two fundraisers alone, and those items that they would be able to offset the cost for the scouts would be things like all of the youth recharter fees. If they sold those items, they could get the recharter fees paid for. You'd be able to pay for all of your adult membership fees, so you wouldn't have to charge your adults that are already volunteering so much time and energy and sweat and tears into the program to help our scouts. We'd be able to offset the cost for the adult membership fees. We would also be able to give all of our new scouts that we recruit that $25 that the new scout fee is. The unit would be able to offset that to help our incoming scouts be able to sign up and cover the cost to register for the first time. Also, especially if it's a pack, they could get their day camp paid for because day camp is free for anyone that has anyone that sells 100 camp cards gets the day camp or a parent paid for, so they would be able to go to day camp for free. They would get all of their advancements throughout the year paid for. At graduation for the packs, they could get the next handbook that all the scouts would need, and they would be able to get their next neckerchief and slide. And the unit would still have $130 per scout to cover other items like camping trips, activities, equipment, crafts, supplies, any of that stuff that the unit would use throughout the year. if every scout was able to achieve a simple goal of the 100 camp cards and just 10 customers and popcorn, the unit would be able to afford all of those things, which sets us up for a pretty good scouting year if the mom and dads wouldn't have to pay out of pocket for all of those different activities. So now I'm going to show you guys, kind of work through how that is possible, planning and showing you some of the resources that our council has put together for this. First, I want to share with you guys our website that has all of the resources that we're going to be covering tonight. It's dangabooncouncil.org/UFR for unit fundraising resources. All of those are there, and I'll pull that up here in a second so I can show everybody what that looks like. Let me see, bring it over. All right, so if you guys go to our dangabooncouncil.org/UFR, this is the website you'll see. It has all of our district executives' contact information over there, so you know who to reach out to if you have questions about anything. And it has all of our items that you would need to start this process. So I'll run through the list of what you would need to start your money earning for the unit. First, you need a program calendar. Our council calendar is linked there, which will show you guys all of the items that the council has going for you, and the district events as well will be listed in here. Training opportunities are all listed in here. That's why that's a good resource to start with. But it should also, with the calendar, it should also include all of your PAC activities. If you're going to do a holiday party, if you're doing the Pinewood Derby, or if you're going to a camporee, or whatever those items are, you should have those listed out before you start planning your budget. You should know a plan, what you guys want to do throughout the year. A lot of your units already know, that they go to Klondike every year, and they go to summer camp every year. Some of those activities that they do every year is stuff that you guys already know and can go ahead and put together in a unit calendar. The next one is anytime that a unit is doing a fundraiser that is not one of the two that the council does. If you're doing a fundraiser that is not the popcorn or the camp cards, you're going to want this unit money earning application. This needs to be filled out every time for each of the unit's fundraisers. It's a pretty simple form. It's self-explanatory, but I'll go through some of those questions that it asks for up front. So the top is just what unit information you have. PAC 24, we meet at the church, what church you meet at, and then you're going to put what district you're in and community. So if you serve Hot Springs, you're going to want to put Hot Springs. If you guys are in the South Asheville area or the Macon County, you're going to want to make sure you list what community the unit is in. All right, so the first question it asks is, what is your unit's money earning plan? So what is the fundraiser you're doing? Is that going to be a spaghetti dinner or a car wash, or are you selling Christmas trees? Whatever the thing is that you guys are doing to try and raise additional funds, you would write up there. And then you're going to want to know how much you're expected to get from that. So we're going to do a car wash. We think we're going to make $1,000. So you'd put that in there. And also it asks what you're going to be using the money for. You guys should try and be very specific on this. Don't just put scouting campouts or the program activities. Be specific. It also helps when you're doing the fundraiser. People are more willing to help the scouts or purchase the item from the scouts if they know specifically what they're going for. So say, the kid is wanting to go to summer camp, or we're trying to buy a new trailer for our troop. Be specific with what you're trying to raise, what you're going to be using that money for. Does a chartered organization give full approval for the plan? So you're going to want to make sure you talk with your COR, make sure that they are okay with you guys doing that fundraiser. With every fundraiser, you're going to want to know when the proposed dates are. So you're going to want to know when you're planning on doing the fundraiser. And then, are you selling tickets or product? That would be yes. If you guys are doing a barbecue dinner, you're going to be selling barbecue with a drink. You know, you want to be specific on that as well. What is being sold? Will members be in uniform? It says see items 3 to 6, which I'll scroll down to, and we'll see here in just a little bit what that is referring to, whether that can be a yes or a no, depending on what fundraiser you guys are actually participating in. Have you checked with neighboring units to avoid any overlapping of territory while working? This is very important. This is even important when we're doing our popcorn and camp cards. If there's one Lowe's in town that 2 or 3 units are all meeting near, we don't want all 3 of them trying to sell and do fundraisers at that one location and all 3 of them trying to contact at the same time. We want to make sure we're sharing the space. We're working well with our community partners. So we want to share that space, and we want to make sure we pick, you know, which weekend each unit is doing or which days each unit is doing those different fundraisers. Is the product or service directly conflict with any other vendors and stuff that we offer? So you're not going to be able to sell, I had this one time, someone wanted to sell a Pizza Hut card, which would be fine, except for they were also trying to sell that during our camp card sale, which would be a conflicting thing, so that wouldn't be okay. Any contracts to be signed, we would want to know who needs to sign them and why there's a need for the contract, so you would want to give specific details on that. The next question is, does the unit have a budget? Which hopefully after tonight, that answer is always yes, because everybody's going to see how to develop a budget here in a little bit. It'll give you that opportunity to mark yes there. How much are the dues? This is set up for each unit. Some charge $1 a week. Some charge $5 or $10 a month. Some do them for 10 months. Some do them for 12 months. It just depends on how your unit has that set up. So you would want to include that. How much is in your treasury? So you want to look at your bank account and say the unit has however much money is in their bank account. Next, it's going to be signed by all of the unit leadership, key 3. So it's going to be signed by the chartered organization representative. It needs to be signed by the unit leader, the unit committee chairman, and we need the chairman's address on there as well. Once all of that is filled out, you're going to turn this into your district executive or the district finance committee to approve those items. Typically, your district executive will be able to handle that and get it to the appropriate person for approval. The guidelines, I'm not going to go through all the guidelines, but I want to scroll down so you guys can see. It's a front and back page, 1-page item right there that you guys will be able to see what you can and cannot do with the fundraisers. The next thing that you guys are going to need is one of our budget templates, which I have the PAC one already downloaded. I'll bring over here. So we're going to run through that here in just a minute. But this template here is an amazing template that you guys can use to develop your budget. We can do a PAC one. There's a troop one there as well. And the troop budget template also works for, you guys can use for venture crews or Sea Scout ships or explorer clubs or posts. You can use that for a lot of those options. So, Jonathan, do we have any questions so far? All right. He says we don't. So we'll start developing the PAC operating budget. Units, it's going to, or for troops, it'll be very similar. I know we have some troop folks out there tonight. It'll be very similar to how it works. It looks just about the same. Some of the wording is a little bit different for the different activities that Cub Scouts do versus what our troops do. So we're going to start up at the top. We're going to put today's date because it's today. We're going to put the council number for our PAC, and we're in the Daniel Boone Council. Projected number of scouts. Being that I'm using a PAC, I'm going to put in 30 scouts. Because our PACs tend to be a little bit larger than our troops tend to be. And I'm going to put 10 adults just to have a number to go off of here. That could be more, that could be less, depending on the PAC that you guys are working with. You just pick the numbers that you guys have and you'd be able to put them in there. You can see that the form will automatically fill in a lot of the areas for you based on those numbers. And then you just go through the registration, which is the recharter amount, is going to be $66 for all of those scouts. For the adults, it's $42. The annual charter fee, that's going to be a flat $75. You only charge that one per unit. The next line is local council activity fees. Some councils, National has allowed councils to charge an activity fee. Our council and our executive board said we've done really well with our budget, that we're not going to charge an additional amount for scouts to sign up. So that's going to be $0 for our council there. The next is the Boys Life fee, which is $12, and I recommend every scout getting the Boys Life. So I went ahead and left the 30 in there. It automatically puts in all of your scouts getting the Boys Life, just because I recommend the Boys Life magazine. I enjoyed it when I was a scout. It has all kinds of cool stuff in there, and it acts as a retention tool as well for the unit, because after the kid drops from the recharter, because it's delayed 2 months, that means they're getting 2 months of magazine still shipped to their house that reminds them, hey, I want to go back to scouting, and I want to, talk to the kids in the pack again. So I recommend just everybody getting that, the Boys Life fee, or the Boys Life magazine. Next is the insurance fee, which is the $12. This is where the $78 comes from. It's the $12 insurance plus the $66 national registration fee. Those two together comes up to that $78 that you're going to be telling your parents is the recharter fee. So now we get into a little bit more of the fun stuff. On average, in the pack, if everybody earns a rank advancement, 7 belt loops, and then a couple of extra awards, they're going to come up with about $17 worth of advancements that you're going to need to pay. And that will be different for each unit, because some units will want to do the parent pins and the rank pins and go a little extravagant on some of the different things. Once you've done this for a year or two, you'll be able to kind of judge that a little bit better on how your unit uses those items. Next is for the bridging and crossover the ceremony. This is also, I consider it for the graduation ceremony as well. So tigers that are becoming wolves, and that what is the pack going to offer them? And I said in this example, we're going to use a hat, a handbook, a neckerchief, and the neckerchief slide. We're going to give all that to all the kids as they move up. That way they're prepared for the following year. All of that comes to $61. I did look that up at the scout shop just before we started this to make sure I got pretty good numbers there for that. The next is our thank you items. We always want to make sure we're thanking our leaders, our den leaders, our committee members, those that have been involved for so long, helping our kids stay active. We want to make sure that we give some sort of thank you for them. And this will be different, again, for every unit. Some units might only be able to give the veteran pin to the leaders. Some might give a really awesome thank you gift or a mug, anything like that. For our example tonight, I'm just going to use $15. That's a pretty solid gift, a coffee mug or something that you guys can give out to all of your leaders that you guys have supporting the program. Next on the list is going to be any special events. So in Cub Scouting, what are some of the special events? I'll give you guys a second to put in some comments or put them in the chat if you're on the Zoom, and I'll hear from Jonathan here in just a second. So throw in all your ideas of what are some of the special events that the Cub Scouts do every year.
So Julia put in Pinewood Derby.
That's
and the Blue and Gold Banquet.
Yep, Blue and Gold is the first one I have. And then I have Pinewood Derby on there.
Yeah. Beth Ann just put in the same ones. Great minds thinking alike. Ooh, Rain Gata Regalia.
Yep.
Rain Gata Regatta. Wendy put in Space Derby as well.
I'm going to put those two together on that line. I was also thinking, I've seen a lot of units do a holiday party.
Yep. That's actually what Wendy just put, Christmas / end of the year / recharter party.
Yep, so the holiday party there. So that gives us 4 events that are pretty popular for pretty much every pack. So for blue and gold, for those of you guys on the chat and the comments, how many people do you think are going to come to a blue and gold for a pack that has 30 kids and 10 registered leaders?
$75 to 80 from Julia.
All right, that's a pretty good guess, because you're going to have, the 30 scouts. You're going to want the 30 scouts to bring their parents, or both parents. You're going to want grandparents there if grandparents can come, and then you're also going to expect your leaders to bring spouses and whatnot. You can invite. I've seen blue and golds where they invited the church to come because the church sponsors the unit. So you're going to have COR and the pastor and some of the folks that are excited about scouting in the church want to come. I've seen the school principals come to blue and gold banquets before because they had a relationship with their principals. And theoretically, if all of those people come, you're going to have 100 people. I'll shoot very high for that because we want to over budget our expenses. That way, we're not surprised with additional expenses. And for blue and gold, what about do you guys think the cost per person is if you guys are going to get food and if you're going to pay for food or pay for desserts and drinks or decorations and all of that stuff? About what would the cost be? Go ahead and throw out some ideas in the chat there.
So Julia said about 10 per person. Anyone else have an idea? Beth Ann said about 8 to 10 per person. Looks like 15 per person.
All right. Those are all very good estimates for what we have. I'm going to put, I've heard 10 and 15, so we're going to go higher average. We'll do 13 per person. For the Pinewood Derby, if you guys are giving out the card to all the kids, I'm going to put 30 because we're going to have 30 scouts, but we can that could be something different if you're including parents to that and doing a dinner and all of that. You're going to want to include more than 30. But let's say we're just going to do for the scouts tonight, and we're going to pay for some decorations. We're going to give out the card to everybody. We're going to maybe get a trophy for the winners, some ribbons for everybody, the patch for all the kids. How much per scout do you think the Pinewood Derby would cost? Maybe we get some finger food, some racing food to fill their bellies while they're racing. What do you see, Jonathan?
Nothing yet. $2,500.
All right, $2,500 for the Pinewood Derby. That seems like quite a bit to me.
25, like 25, not 2,500.
Okay.
We forgot a decimal.
All right, so $25. That's pretty high. We can put that in there. We'll use that number. So if it was $25 a scout, in there we'll put that. So for a holiday party, I'm thinking we do a little bit of hors d'oeuvres, and each scout will bring their own present or something to do an exchange. if you guys choose to do that. But how much for a small finger foods for the group on the night that you guys are doing your holiday party or end of year celebration, or end of calendar year celebration? Feel free to go ahead and throw those in the comment in the chat box as well.
Per person, Julia, so.
Yes, per person. I guess I'll put that in there. If you have the 30 scouts, the 10 leaders, and maybe a few parents, we'll say 50 people are there. So how much per person?
So got 2 per person, 5 per person,
All right.
5 per person again.
So 5 seems to be a going number. We'll use 5. All right. And the Rain Gutter Regatta, this is going to be very similar to the Pinewood Derby. If we included that we're giving out the boat, maybe some decorations, maybe a couple of finger foods here and there, it'll be similar to the Pinewood Derby. So I'm going to put the same thing down for the that we did for the Pinewood Derby, just to help save us a little bit of time on that one. All right, what are some of the den outings that you guys can do? Some of these might be as a pack, but some of these also might be specific for each den to do.
Going on a hike, that's a great one.
Going on a hike, so I put the nature center in. That'll be similar.
One my pack did was sleeping with the fishes. Well, we didn't actually do it, but we were planning to do it. An overnight at the aquarium.
Overnight at the aquarium.
Fish hatchery, bowling.
Bowling. All right, we'll put bowling down. We'll use it as a fish hatchery as well.
Just a standard camp out.
A standard camp out, that's good. Packs and dens need to do those camp outs. I've also seen units do pool parties, back to school bashes kind of thing in the pool. So you can list any of those type items here. We're going to go through, and we have 30 scouts, so I'm going to prepare all 30 scouts come to all of these 3 events, whether it's as a whole pack or each den schedules their own time to go to the nature center, each den schedules their own night to go bowling. I'm still going to expect 30 scouts to participate in those 3 den outings. So this will help us with our budgeting for those. So how much do you guys think, if you're paying for some gas to get there, admissions to the nature center, what do you guys think some of these outings might cost? We'll let you throw some of those into the chat box and the comment section down on Facebook. I'll give you a second to do that. Thank you all for engaging with this. It makes it a lot more fun when we have input.
So $12 for the nature center.
All right. How much for bowling, a night of bowling? Or a couple of hours, I should say an hour, hour and a half. I mean, that's how long most kids can spend bowling. Any ideas? I have a lot of question mark looking faces on our Zoom chats. Folks not sure how much a night of bowling would be.
$10 10 for bowling.
10,
10.
all right, 10 sounds good. And just because I want to throw a hard one out there, so it might not be the actual fish hatchery, but probably wouldn't cost this, but if you're going, sleeping with the sharks or something like that, I'm going to just throw a big number out, let's say $18 a scout, so the kids can go travel somewhere for one of these outings. That way I'll show you, we'll work through the budget on when you have an expensive outing like that, how it's still totally affordable. That finishes that section. Up next is our camp section. So our day camp is going to either be, for our council, is June 14th through the 18th, or the 21st through the 25th for next year, because we're going to plan for next year's budget tonight. We're not planning for our virtual day camp coming up in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to put in next year's information on this. And how many kids should go to day camp? All of them, right? So we're going to put all 30 scouts in there because we want all of our kids to go to day camp. And how much is day camp running? Especially if we include gas and whatnot, for say our unit wants to get together and pay for gas to get there. With
Aurora is 65.
65
plus gas and getting there and stuff.
Plus the gas and getting there, and if a unit wants to rent a van to carpool some of those folks there, I'm going to go big. That way we can I can still show you how affordable all of this is. I'm going to do a nice round $100. That way units can then pay for travels for all of our scouts to get there, which will also help parents not have to find time to get and go and drop off their kid, because I know that might be a barrier why some of our scouts wouldn't attend day camp. So we want to set all of that up so that all of our kids can participate in these events. Cub Scout resident camp, our council doesn't do a full resident camp for Cub Scouts, so I'm going to leave that one blank. Weeblo's resident camp, I'm going to say that this is our Weeblo's Woods, which comes up the end of July, 1st of August. This year is going to be July 30th through August 1st. And Weeblo's Woods, 70. All right, and out of the 30 scouts we have, I'm thinking that we'll say 10 of them are in the Weeblo's Arrow of Light age group that would be attending Weeblo's Woods. That might be a little high, but that is, I'd rather budget high than budget too low on that. Council organized family camping. We have 2 Cub parent campouts a year. We have one that's going to be on October 23rd through the 24th. And we have one that is next April 17th and 18th. So I put those in there, and the Cub Parent weekends are $40 for all of our scouts to attend, and there's 2 of them, so we're going to have 60 scouts attend because 30 of them are going to go in the fall, and 30 of them are going to go in the spring. So I'm going to put 60 scouts going to that. The leaders' fees, if we want our leaders to go to Cub Parent or Weeblo's Woods, that'll be $20 for Weeblo's Woods. And we also want all of our leaders to go to Cub Parent, which is $12 for Cub Parent, which means we have 10 leaders that are going to all of those activities, which is going to be $44 because there's 2 Cub Parents. So they're going to go, those 10 leaders are going to go to both Cub Parents and Weeblo's Woods. Granted, not all of those leaders will need to go to Weeblo's Woods because they're not all going to be the Weeblo's Den leader, but we're going to go ahead and budget it in there just so that we have it budgeted and we may not need it when that time comes. So program supplies for camping equipment, anything like that. We have 40 people registered, so we have 30 scouts and 10 adults. And how much per scout or per person are we going to, throughout the whole course of the year, if you're buying glue and cardboard for cutouts or any of that stuff, what are some ideas for how much a Cub Scout pack might need and program supplies over the course of the entire year? If this would include the crossover bridge, possibly, if you need the crossover bridge fixed. If you guys give out any special stuff or decorations during any of your ceremonies, your pack meetings, if you give out door prizes during the pack meetings, that would, all of this stuff would be included here.
So I see $10, $5, $25.
All right, we'll go high. I'll do the $25. Again, this is going to be the ideal scouting year, so we're going to budget for everything that we might need in the year. So I'm going to go with the highest number I heard, which is the $25. Up next is our leader training. We want all of our leaders to go to training. They're volunteering their time, so the pack, if possible, the pack should probably offset the cost for them to go to some of these trainings. Some of the trainings that we have throughout the year, this form says basic training, which is done online for a lot of our leaders. So that wouldn't cost anything, but some of the other trainings that we do offer that does cost training is one that every leader should go, even if they're already trained, is $15 for University of Scouting. And then we have other trainings like Blue throughout the year. The troops have IOLS that they need to go to, and other trainings throughout the year that Scout adults need to go to. So I'll do the $15, and I'll just make a number up here for $20 for other trainings. And that comes to, for our 10 adults that we have, that would be $35 for that. Scout assistance down here, this would help cover any scout that can't afford to pay the registration fee. Or if you look next to it, I put out how much it's going to cost for a new scout to register with us. In August, September time period, it's $35 or $33 for registration plus the $25 assistance fee. So for my example, and as I mentioned earlier, the unit can pay for that $25 initial fee and let the parents cover the rest of the registration fee. So we're going to say the pack is going to offset that $25 new member fee there. And we're going to say we had a good recruitment, not the best recruitment that I've seen in some folks, but we're going to have a good recruitment, and we're going to recruit 12 new scouts this fall. So we're going to have 12 new scouts, and we're going to pay that $25 initial fee, so that the parents don't have to worry about that part of the registration fee. Up next is the reserve fund. For the quantity here, we have 30 scouts registered. We recruited 12, which gives us 42, and we have 10 adults. So that would be 52 folks that I have. And this can be any amount. This would cover uniform assistance. If some of your parents can't cover uniform, this could cover a lot of other expenses that you guys may have. So I put a big number here, which could be smaller, but I'll put $10 in. That gives us an extra cushion in there just in case something happens, which again is similar to the next one that I have, is our other expenses contingency fund. What happens if something happens and we need to pay for something additional? What happens if in the middle of the year National raises the fee and we have to increase our fee, or anything like that we might need? We thought summer camp was going to be one price, but now it's a different price because fuel got really expensive. So this would be those other expenses. Again, there's 52 of everybody. So this one I put as a smaller amount. We'll say $3, or we'll do $5. Oop, not 35. We'll do a $5 other expenses done. So this spreadsheet does that formula. We just developed an awesome scouting year. Think of how much fun a scout would have if they were able to do all of those activities that we just mentioned, and they had trained leaders because our PAC was able to pay for the leaders to go to trainings. That is just an amazing scouting year. And if you look down at the bottom here, it shows you the total expenses for that entire year and all of our kids to do all of the activities was just over $19,000. That sounds like a huge amount up front, but I'm going to show you guys how that is totally affordable and manageable for a unit to cover those costs. So scrolling down is now we're talking about our income. So annual dues. How much are all of your scouts going to pay monthly or annually each year? I said we had 30 scouts total, so I'm going to put 30 scouts in there. And the going number that I've heard from most of our scouts is that they charge $5 a month for 10 or 12 months. For the PAC, I'm going to say it's only 10 months. So that would be $50 a year. If it is 12 months, you can change it to that. If you guys charge $10 a month for that 10 months, that would theoretically offset all of your recharter fees for that scout. It's up to the unit committee to discuss, and the unit leadership to discuss how they want to do that process at all. The next line is the surplus from the prior year. So if this is the first time you've done your budget, whatever number's in your bank account's the number you're going to put in there. I'm going to just make a number up. We're going to do $500, and there's only one of them because you only had one amount of money that you had left over from last year. Other sources, this is where you guys would put in all of the other incomes you guys have. If parents are going to pay for some of those items, maybe your parents all pay $100 that you could put in for that. I'm going to just put in and say that our chartered organization likes the scouts being there and enjoys the program, helping the scouts work. So I'm going to say our chartered organization gives us $500 a year to help cover some of the program expenses. So starting off there, that's how much you guys have in income before or throughout the year from those items. And then it tells you how much you guys need to raise in fundraising, which for our example tonight is $16,525 is how much we're going to have to raise through our fundraising projects to pay for this amazing scouting year we have. Again, that number can sound really high, but the spreadsheet's really good that lets us walk through how to manage that. So if you guys look at the bottom of the screen right now, it shows 3 different fundraisers that you guys would have. You have our camp cards that the council does. The unit makes 50% of those commissions. We have popcorn, where the unit would make 37 or 40% if they beat last year. And you have other fundraisers. The percentage that is included in there is where you guys want to bring your focus. Excuse me. So I'm going to say in our example, we're going to raise half of our funds from camp cards. We're going to raise 30% of our funds from popcorn, and then it leaves us only 20% of that needed funds from all of our other spaghetti dinners and car washes and other fundraisers that we have. You can change these percentages. So if you wanted to rely a little bit heavier on camp cards, you could do the 60% in camp cards, and it automatically changes the others fee based on what you have for your popcorn or camp card percentages. The other fundraisers is the rest of your goal. So if you did, like I just changed it a little bit, I'm going to change it back. So we have 50% of our funds coming from camp cards. We have 30% of our funds coming from popcorn and 20% coming from everybody else, or from all of our other fundraisers. This next section is pretty awesome. So first it says if we're going to raise 50% from camp cards, it gives us what our pack goal would be. We need to raise $8,263 from camp cards. Based on the commission that the unit gets off of that, we need to sell $16,525 worth of camp cards. And then it breaks, based on that goal, it's going to divide it by however many scouts you have, and say each scout then only needs to sell $551 worth of camp cards, or $555, however you guys want to divvy up the dollar amount. You can round it down and just say $550 if you wanted to. But the awesome part is it actually divides it up by how many camp cards each scout would need. So you set a goal of every scout to sell 110, 111 camp cards. They're going to get their day camp paid for, which is going to also affect your budget, help you guys with the budget there, because the pack then isn't paying that. I think we put $100 for day camp. The pack's not having to pay that full amount because it's given from our camp card sales. So it breaks it down all the way to how much each scout needs to sell there for you. The next line is popcorn, and it does the same thing. Based on the percentages we've decided we want to focus our popcorn in, it says we need to collect about $5,000 from popcorn. If we didn't beat last year in sales, we're going to need to sell $13,400 worth of popcorn. And this breaks it down to where each scout is only selling to 15 customers. So that's 15 next door neighbors that they go to. You're going to be able to hit your popcorn goal. If you're outside of one of the major retailers that lets us sell out in front, 15 customers buying popcorn will happen in no time at all. So it's a very attainable goal for our scouts to just sell 15 popcorn to just 15 customers. And it could even be less than that if one of your customers wants the $60 tin or one of the higher end items on our popcorn stuff. But this breaks it down again, how much each scout needs to sell dollar-wise and how many customers that is. The next one is going to be different for each unit. This is the other fundraisers. It depends on what fundraisers you guys have. A couple of things that are in our example here that might be different is the commission. I know when my unit did our spaghetti dinner, all of our parents just brought in a pot of spaghetti, so the unit didn't have any upfront costs. And we just, so we got 100% commission off of what we were able to sell. I put in 60%, but that could be any percentage based on whatever the fundraiser is that you guys have there. And it would break it down to where each scout needs to sell, $120 worth of other fundraisers items in there, whether that's Christmas tree sales or anything that you guys do. It breaks it down that way as well. Is there any other questions come up? Hodo says we don't have any questions at the moment. One thing I want to bring up at this point is a lot of our scouts and folks that I've worked through this with, it's like, oh, but how do we, make sure one scout's not selling all $16,000 worth of camp cards and everybody else just gets to, attend and do all the stuff without having to participate in the, without actually having to participate in the fundraisers. So our spreadsheet here also has an extra tab down at the bottom here that says Scout Accounts. This is pretty fun spreadsheet. It lists on the left-hand side, you can list all of your scouts' names. If you scroll down to the bottom, I even have a section for adults, so you can put your adult's name in there. And as you work through your budget, this would be a tracking for each scout throughout the year. If the scout wanted to pay for their $66 registration fee, they're doing their boys' life, they're paying for their insurance. You can put all that in there, and you can see on the left-hand side where it says net, we'll calculate their total. This is broken out the exact same thing that we did on the previous budget. All of the items that we mentioned a unit would need to pay for, lists there, and then it shows your commissions. When we did commissions, there's a couple of different ways to do it. That 50% that comes back from camp cards, my unit gave $2 to the scout account and 50 cents to the unit account, which means if you look up there, I had an example of 40% goes to the scout account and 10% goes to our general account, the general fund. Popcorn, your unit can again decide how it wants to break that up at all. We did it for a lot of packs. They do it to where the scouts are picking out prizes because that's an advantage of the popcorn program. As the scout sells more, they get to pick out a prettier and better prize item. So the commission part could theoretically all go to that general account fund, which is what I show here as an example for that. There's also a column for program scholarships. So let's say the scout did sell enough for camp cards to go to camp. You're going to put in the $65 that camp would have cost them, the council fee that we're paying for there. And then over at where it says day camp, you can still put, if they're going to help pay for the gas and everything to get there, the $100 that we originally budgeted would show up there. That way the scout is still paying their part of the fee to travel to and from the day camp. We're going to say that this scout sold, we'll do 100 camp cards, comes to $250 or $200 to the scout account. That should show us, if we scroll back over into net, this scout then has extra money in their scout account. I should note that the scout accounts are unit funds. This isn't the scout's money. This is the unit's money. The unit has just decided to offer that amount of funds to the scout. If that scout leaves or ages out, it's up to the unit to determine what they want to do with those funds. Being that we're working with a pack, a lot of packs will let the scout carry those funds over to the troop, or a percentage of those funds over to the troop. Some units take any money that's left over when a scout drops out or leaves or does something like that, and they'll move it just to the general account. It's entirely up to the unit leadership to discuss what they feel is the most fair for everyone involved. The IRS says that it's not the scout's money. We're not supposed to write them a check if they left for that $75 that's there, because then you're personally gaining from a nonprofit. So that is the unit funds. They can use that and however the unit leadership decides is best for the unit. So that covers the unit accounts. You can break that down all the way down to the adults. I have highlighted two very important things that if you're using this, that the committee would want to pay attention to. First is the net in the general account. You're going to want to make sure you guys have money in the general account. This is funds that the PAC would use for, if they're giving out the advancements, this is where your advancements would come out. If they're paying for the adult registrations, it would come out by putting the 10 adults that we have, it would come out there. So you're going to want to pay very close attention to that and make sure the PAC's portion of the bank account is positive and that you guys have funds there if the PAC is buying advancements and different things like that. The other one that you're going to want to pay very close attention to is all the way at the bottom where it says grand total. You're going to want to make sure your bank account has money in it. If, like right now, or if you have a bunch of scouts that go in the hole because the PAC wrote a check for day camp, it would be negative, and you don't want your account to go negative. So that number at the very bottom highlighted there should match theoretically with what you guys have in the bank account that your bank statements say you have. Those two numbers there should match and always be positive. Again, we do not want the PAC money to go negative in your bank account. So that's an effective tool to help manage each scout. This is very nice to use scout accounts. That way you can reward those scouts that spend every weekend and every day out during the show and sell, selling stuff. The scouts that show up to every car wash, the scouts that participate in your Christmas tree sales. You can reward them by allowing them to pay for their scouting year without mom and dad having to pay out of pocket. The other thing is, if the scout does go negative, just like on the previous slide, payments from other income, parent payments, you can put an amount in here. So if everybody wanted to pay for that day camp, you could put in that they were paying for the day camp fee or whatever. If their account goes negative and you say, hey, your scout account's negative $35, you can put in here that the parent paid the extra amount. And if you're using this and tracking it, this is something the committee should be looking at each month or each quarter, depending on when the committee is meeting. That way they can track and they can print off. You can just highlight the cell, the row, and hit File, Print, the one row, and it'll print that scout's account so that you can say, hey, parent of Scout 1, this is what you have in your scout account. Parent of Scout 2, this is what's in the scout account for you. And again, if any of y'all have questions on this, most of our staff will be able to help figure out Excel spreadsheets and can help you with that, or answer any other questions you guys may have specific to units and fundraising and developing this amazing program that we have that we can offer our scouts. Again, the goal is to let all of those scouts do all of these fun things that we mentioned previously. We want them to go to day camp. We want them to have fun at each of the weekly meetings. Those are some of the stuff that we want to watch for and be able to participate with. Is there any questions from anybody in the Zoom meeting or on our Facebook Live? I'd be happy to answer any of those now if you guys have any questions. Jonathan's shaking his head. It looks like we're all wrapped up. So before I finish tonight, I am going to talk to you guys for just a second about our next training that we have coming up, and that is going to be a training from our popcorn team. They're coming in. If you guys don't already have the Zoom link, email Paul Hollier at scouting.org, paul.hollier@scouting.org. It has his email up there so that we can you can email and get that link. But this training is proven to increase the units selling, and it talks about the big thing is how to sell $10,000 in popcorn in a weekend. That's the big push that we're the next training that we have, which will be next Thursday, same time, 6:30, but it will only be on Zoom. We have to our popcorn company had asked us to track a little bit closer of who is watching, so it's only on Zoom. If you don't have that link, please contact paul.hollier@scouting.org to get that information. But it should be a great training on how to help increase our next fundraiser, which is popcorn, coming up here in not too much longer. We'll be out selling popcorn. All right. Any other questions from anybody? Well, I want to say thank you guys for coming out, and I appreciate all that you guys are doing, volunteering your time tonight to watch our video and be a part of this. And if you guys have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to any of your DEs, myself or Paul. We'd be happy to work with you guys. Thank you guys.